This set of videos will help you identify the anatomical features of the heart on our lab models. So we'll use 3 different views of essentially the same model as we discuss this. The first model we're going to use is an anterior view of the heart. The second model is an anterior view, but has also been sectioned frontally or coronally to open up the heart so we can see what's happening inside with those chambers. And this last model will be an inferior and slightly posterior view of the heart. So we're looking inferior to superior. So let's first look at this anterior view. So remember that for the laboratory portion of the course, you need to identify the structures that we've put in bold type or in boxes in your lab manual on the models, and you also need to be able to discuss the function. This set of videos will mostly help you identify the structures. I'll discuss a few of the functions here, but make sure that you're going back and capturing that content as you study the lecture portion of the course. So anytime I look at one of our laboratory models, the first thing I want to do is kind of get my bearings of where we are. So this is an anterior view of the heart. This portion here would be the inferior portion or the apex of the heart. Here, this would be more superior or the base of the heart. And if you consider that we are always discussing things in anatomical position, that means that this side of the heart would be the right and this side would be the left. This model is close to what you would expect for heart in anatomical position. When the heart does sit in the chest, the apex is more towards the left, so a little bit tilted this way. So I'm just going to tilt this image a little bit so that we can kind of think about that. At this point, you should have already seen the 2D video and kind of be basically familiar with the structure of the heart. So let's look at our list. So the first structures we want to identify are the right atrium and auricle and the left atrium and left auricle. Remember, those are in the more superior portion of the heart. So this would be right atria. The right auricle of the right atria is going to be this kind of part that sticks off there. Remember, auricle means ear. It kind of looks like an ear to me. The left atria would be this structure. And then the left auricle looks a little more finger-like to me, so that would be this structure here. So I've labeled those here for you. Our ventricles are our more muscular part of the heart. So here would be interventricular septum. That would make this the right ventricle, and this portion of the heart the left ventricle. Next, let's look at our major vessels of the heart. So starting with the vena cava. The vena cava enters into or empties into the right atrium, so that's going to be on the right side of the heart. Here you can see the superior vena cava. The inferior vena cava is only viewed from the posterior view of the heart. Something to note while we're looking at this model, the majority of the models that you study as you study cardiovascular anatomy are going to depict anything that's carrying mostly deoxygenated blood as kind of a blue or purple color, and anything that's carrying mostly oxygenated blood is red. So blood will enter into the right atrium from the vena cava, go from the right atrium into the right ventricle, and then leave the right ventricle through the pulmonary trunk. So this structure here that you can see kind of connected to the right ventricle, also note it's still blue, which makes sense because the pulmonary trunk is carrying deoxygenated blood. So blood leaves the pulmonary trunk and travels to the lungs via the right and left pulmonary arteries. In this model, you can see the left pulmonary arteries here. The right pulmonary arteries would be deep to this red structure that you're going to learn is the aorta. So that blood from the pulmonary arteries goes to the lungs, is going to become oxygenated, and then return to the heart at the level of the left atria via the structures known as the left and right pulmonary veins. Again, on the model, you can only see the left pulmonary vein. The right pulmonary vein would be deep here. And these structures are really going to be easier to see on our inferior and posterior model. So that blood will then enter our left atria, travel to our left ventricle, and then exit the heart via our aorta. And this structure is your aorta. So there are three portions to the aorta. There's the ascending aorta, there's the aortic arch, and there's the descending aorta. There are three vessels that leave the aortic arch. They are the brachycephalic trunk, the left common carotid artery, and the left subclavian artery. Now let's move to that anterior view of the heart that's been sectioned. So here you can see the inside portion of the right ventricle. Here would be left ventricle. You can also see the right atria really nicely in this model, and then left atria you can see right in this area. What you can visualize really nicely in this model is the interventricular septum. This is this thick area of myocardium that sits between the right and left ventricles. The last model I want to look at is this inferior and posterior view of the heart. So when you look here, this would be inferior vena cava here, that's in the inferior portion of the heart. So that makes this the right atria that it's emptying into. So if this is right atria, that means that this structure here is left atria. And if this is left atria, that means that these structures here are our pulmonary veins, specifically the right pulmonary vein, because notice it's on the right side of the heart, the same side as the right atria. And it's a little harder to visualize on this model, but this must be one of our left pulmonary veins. Okay, that should cover the chambers, the septa, and the major vessels of the heart. Do let me know if you have questions.